A lot of detractors really did say NFTs are dead for forever because, if you quote what our head writer was told once, NFTs are just shitcoins with JPEGs, and some people still do believe that.
If you look at the history of crypto, a lot of these new use cases and new primitives that get unlocked, it always starts first looking at like a toy. I take that same lens to NFTs today, which is today where there's a bunch of activity around trading pictures, but trading pictures is a very naive and basic illustration, but it's an illustration nonetheless of wow, now you can have this form of digital ownership, and actually there is a market that really validates and values digital ownership.
GM, everybody, welcome into another Coinage Chat here. I'm the host of Coinage, Zach Usman, coming to you live from our Brooklyn studios in New York City as Bitcoin pops above 60K. The vibes are back, ladies and gents, and if you haven't been watching, NFTs themselves are also back, not just on Ethereum, Solana, also now on Bitcoin with Ordinals. There's a lot going on, and one of the biggest names in NFTs is Magic Eden, and today we're chatting with one of the co-founders of Magic Eden, Jack Liu, on Coinage with us today. Jack, thank you so much for hopping on, man.
Absolutely, GM, we're so back. Very happy.
Vibes are back, man. Vibes are back. You guys are leading some of the charge here, actually, I think, in the NFT front. A lot of excitement with your guys' ETH launch in partnership with Yuga Labs. And it's been a while, man. I think, Coinage launched back in 2022. We actually launched our NFTs on Magic Eden back then when you guys were trying to figure out how to expand beyond Solana. Now we're here again. What's old is new again. I just curious to get your take on kind of how different this cycle is versus back then in 2022 and what you're seeing at Magic Eden.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this conversation because it's really full circle, right? Both in terms of working together as like launch partners a couple of years ago, and now on the advent of our renewed ETH launch. Look, a couple of things. I think in terms of how the landscape has changed. I think first of all, it's really clear that now the NFT market is empirically just a multi-chain market. I think back when we launched, Magic Eden's story is we started on Solana, but Solana was, even though it had amazing technology, amazing creators, but it was also always seen as like a frontier market for NFTs. It was like to put it simply, like a little brother chain to ETH, and ETH is where most of the NFT action was happening, right? Where the most prestigious creators, the most like esteemed collections were. But fast forward to 2024, I think it's really obvious that the NFT market has really distributed across different ecosystems, right? ETH is still a fairly large chunk of like the user base and creators, but it probably accounts for like less than half of the market. Solana is pretty big, around 2025. And then this Bitcoin market, which Magic Eden has been really proud to support, and we're a leading player there. Bitcoin has really skyrocketed as well in size, and it probably accounts for like 30, 35, sometimes 40% of the market. So I think the market today is multi-chain, and Magic Eden, we're very proud to be one of the uniquely positioned players to serve all three of these massive ecosystems.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild to watch the explosion of ordinals and Bitcoin NFTs now this year. I want to get your take on some of that in a second, but because you mentioned ETH is such a big piece of the market, I mean, it does really seem different, the strategy this time around. Maybe, not saying Coinage is the smallest NFT collection around. Of course, again, we got the co-founder of Netflix and, John Woo as backers in our collection and our project. But Yuga Labs does bring about a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will. And, it's a huge piece of, I think, your guys' launch here. What is different this time as you try and attack that market? Because it's always hard to expand from blockchain to blockchain. But what's different this time around with Yuga being a key piece?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a great question. I think hits at the heart of it, right? Like expanding to each ecosystem is different. Maybe I'll like back up 1 second and then we'll, talk specifically about the Yuga piece. Really like expanding to each ecosystem really feels like expanding to a different country. Like we have that like mental model. Like it has, we're almost a bit like a global brand, and we have our own special sauce in terms of products. But we really have to respect, honor, and like kind of embed ourselves with that local market and like that local culture, right? And really bring it to life. And we really believe so. In that sense, like the Bitcoin culture and the ETH culture and the Solana culture is pretty different. And I think to be successful, you really have to, be embedded and live that culture. I think a really key part of like living that culture is really partnering with the native creators, right? Who who really understand the space, but also are seen as leaders and role models in that space. So then, like, taking fast forwarding a little bit to this like Yuga piece, we're really excited about this partnership with Yuga Labs as well as a bunch of other top creators. We also created this alliance called Creator Alliance, which has like Pudgy Penguin, Suzuki, Animoca, Ledger, and like both from like crypto native brands and mainstream brands.
Yeah.
So this type of strat is a couple of things. Number one, it really relies on like creator first, building a creator first marketplace with creator first value propositions, and a lot of that is hinged around like royalty protection. And this piece of the strategy is one, both manifesting what we deeply believe in Magic Eden as a creator first marketplace. We've been one of
Hmm.
the first marketplaces to like have a creator product like Launchpad, and secondly, it really builds on top of our experience in Solana. Like there was this basically like crazy period in NFTs where everyone found out that royalties was not protected at the technological level. Solana had the same problem, and then Magic Eden would face the same challenges of figuring out how to resolve this situation, how to deliver like royalties as a value proposition to creators.
Sure.
And then over time, we actually figured out the solution, and we also figured out like creators actually really love that solution. It has this like product market fit, and now royalties is the industry standard on Sol. And this partnership with Yuga is really hinged on a lot of our learnings based on that Solana experience, where we can build and
Yeah.
support that technology and bring that value prop to ETH
Yeah, I wonder
creators.
about that too, because it does seem like obviously, it helps creators, and I'm all for it. Obviously, as an NFT collection, I love seeing the royalties come in anytime someone flips one of our NFTs. It's great. It's been working for us. But obviously, as a buyer of NFTs, when it comes to choosing where you can purchase these, you're just going to go to wherever I think it's cheapest, right? That's just kind of what people do. I love the idea of people trying to support creators, but I'm also, not oblivious to the idea of the market emphasizing the cheapest way to go. And when you look at that, I mean, obviously, if you have maybe negotiating power with a collection like Yuga to bring them on board and say, no, this is what we want to do, it does help, I think, the entire space if that becomes the industry standard. How important is that piece of it, though, too? And do you think it's inevitable that maybe someone else comes around and tries to, again, push creator royalties back to zero?
Yeah, it was a really good question. So I think there's two pieces there, right? I think on the first piece around how do we prevent like basically how do you deal with this like economic like market force, right, of trying to protect royalties, but then certain traders are much more like economically sensitive and they'll go to places where it's cheapest. I really think like the heart of the solution is you have to provide a technology solution that's robust that protects royalties. That's the solution that we had a big role in in pushing out on Solana called PNFTs, which protects royalties. And what it really says is that hey, like any marketplace can use this, any marketplace can adopt this standard and protocol. But if you adopt that standard and protocol, like all marketplaces will have to respect royalties, and therefore economically everyone is at the same level playing field. That's the experience we had in Seoul, and that's also the technology that we partnered with a company called Limit Break, amazing innovators on ETH to roll out. So that I
Hmm.
think like stretches out this like like traders searching for like the cheapest price, because all marketplaces that adopt this technology will be on a level playing field. And then as to your second piece around, do we think players will come along and find like another way around this? Look, there's always that risk. Like technology, it's a tool, right? And people use that tool to serve their business ends. So it cannot be off the table that someone else would develop a technology to bypass this. But
Hmm.
what we actually had the same fears and we had the same concerns on Sol when like PNFTs launched, and we thought, okay, someone else is gonna create wrapping or something like that to bypass this. But we did not actually see that, right? We actually did not see that. We actually saw that marketplaces, creators, and ultimately the buy side all basically got on board and adopted this tech. And
Yeah.
I think a big part of it really is like, well, there is a bunch of technology kind of, yeah, like investment you have to do, but it's also kind of like you're investing on the wrong side of history, right? I think like if you're backing up and really see on the like look at that, like it's really obvious that hey, we
Yeah.
also need, yeah, we need to bring creators into Web3 and
Well, I
a
feel
bunch
like
of
the other side of it too is just like the royalties piece, as you mentioned. The other piece of that is incentivizing users of Magic Eden. And a lot of people in our community, again, as a community owned show, people throw out questions our way. And seeing kind of what you guys are trying to do with your rewards, diamonds, and potentially an airdrop, we've seen this kind of work for NFT platforms. The two questions that a lot of people in our community were wondering is, what does it look like for an airdrop for Magic Eden's plans? We've seen that from other platforms. And what are the plans to incentivize users to stay on Magic Eden this time around? And, again, we've seen Blur, other platforms eat OpenSea's lunch. How do you look at maybe the incentivization side of the equation?
Yeah, we're very proud to have launched our like rewards program, right? And I think we have some, yeah, like really really cool surprises. I would just say for the community on that piece. I think I'll speak a little more broadly around this, and then kind of if I think about 2024 and the early launches we had, so much of it has been really impactful in terms of bundling it into a huge narrative. So I don't want to like reveal the alpha too soon, but I can tell a
Yo,
little.
it's always good to reveal the alpha on coinage. Always good.
Soon. And then, but I would say that I think rewards programs. I'll talk a little bit about like our spirit behind that, right? Like, I actually deeply believe that like rewards programs, there is an incentive aspect of it, but really another key part of it is we have to use that to tell our story and tell our philosophy as a company. Like if you just pay people to use your platform, that is not long-term sustainable, right? And we've seen that throughout not just the history of Web3 and crypto dApps with their incentive programs, but also like in Web2 and other places as well. So what we actually want to do with this rewards program is manifest our philosophy of like what who Magic Eden is, and we want to attract long-term believers who really believe in our vision and our strategy. So on that, it's a few big pillars. Number one is being cross-chain first. We really believe that we're a marketplace that focuses on delivering the widest range across all the and provides the best and most exciting and vibrant NFT content across any ecosystem. So that communities should feel like boundaryless, right? Boundless. And we want to be uniquely positioned there, and we are uniquely positioned there. So for users
Hmm.
who really are attracted to that convenience and that range, they would I think they will find our rewards program really rewarding. And then the second
Yeah.
piece is we don't think of ourselves just as an NFT marketplace because we have a marketplace that's multi-chain, and now we have a wallet. Our wallet actually did 200,000 downloads in 4 weeks after launch, and like 35,000 daily active users. So it actually has been
Yeah.
blown. Yeah,
Yeah, no, and
it's
I definitely don't want to overlook that because I feel like the technology piece of all of this is kind of moving to the background. Whether it is like, oh, is it an NFT? It's like even us, we think of ourselves as more of a media company that's using this technology to incentivize users on both sides of not just consuming the content but also co-owning the content with us as we grow an audience. It's been great. Our NFTs are up almost 200% in the last year, so it's working. But I mean, when you look at the rebound, right, and you're talking about being multi-chain and adding a multiple use case scenario for Magic Eden users, whether it's the wallet or platform to buy NFTs, like if you look at the rebound in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and pricing versus NFT trading volumes, I think we have that chart around the rebound for some of that stuff. It hasn't necessarily been as strong as a snapback as price. I mean, what do you think about where we are in this quote unquote death of NFTs? Obviously, I think you and I would agree that it's not dead. But in the rebounds, what do you make of that? And then I want to get your take on kind of the opportunities for Bitcoin versus Ethereum versus Solana as we maybe see this next chapter of the rebound.
Yeah, it's a great question. I definitely think the death of NFTs is yeah, is kind of like a meme and not accurate. But at the same time, it was good. There was definitely a bear market in NFTs, but there was also a lot of amazing innovation, right? Whether it was in on ordinals or on like royalty protection and so on. So there was a lot of innovation and a lot of activity. It actually gave us the quietness to like focus on building something long term. But I would also say that yeah, as the markets pick up, whether it's in the fungible token side or not, like it's also like creating a lot of excitement in the NFT space. Like just as a side point, yesterday I think Magic Eden we had like one Bitcoin NFT that like an ordinal that sold for 1.4 million dollars. It was like our all time high in terms of sales, and that was just one piece. So I think that's really a testament to that. The market is there's a lot of excitement there. I think in terms of like coming back, there's a couple of things. Number one, I think just with the broader macro environment, things are more positive for like crypto assets and so on. Like I think a lot of that excitement and overflow also overflow into like collectibles like NFT. The second is that, yeah, as we have these new value propositions like royalties that can help creators get something in Web3 that they cannot get in Web2, like these new technologies that Magic Eden is rolling out with Limit Break, that's also
Hmm.
going to help a lot to bring new innovations, new use cases, and also new users into the space, right? And that's going to catalyze um, the space forward. And I think number three, it's all about like ease, right? So as long as we have players who are working on like making it easier to access and enter the NFT space, I think with the broader backdrop and tailwind of like good macro and stuff, it's all also going to catalyze a lot of excitement in the NFT space.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about ordinals and Bitcoin because that's one of the big questions too. It's weird. I said earlier, what's old is new again, right? In this idea, and seeing JPEGs and NFTs go from Ethereum now back to Bitcoin has a lot of people confused, me confused, but also has a lot of people very excited because it means a lot for Bitcoin, and obviously the Bitcoin market is huge when it comes to how this all works. How do you see NFTs and the idea of collectibles shifting from Ethereum impacting Bitcoin as it grows? Because more than $100 million, I think, in terms of volume on Magic Eden in February was the latest headline I saw. So what does that do to you, and how different is it when you have JPEG shifting to Bitcoin?
Yeah, yeah, we're very excited, right? I think we did, yeah. So I think February, we're not even at the end of February, and we did some, yeah, pretty amazing numbers. So very excited, very grateful for the community and supporting us there. I think like for Bitcoin, I mean, maybe zooming out a little bit, I really feel that like different ecosystems, like different chains, maybe they'll support different types of flavors and different types of use cases. For example, Solana is a really fast smart contract chain. It may have like different types of NFTs with more utility, right? And then ETH has a lot of culture and a lot of like genesis and history there around NFTs, and it might support a different type of ecosystem. And then Bitcoin, like, yeah, Bitcoin actually is very vibrant and complex and like unique on its own. There is like art projects on Bitcoin, so like JPEGs and so on. But well, there's also a bunch of things on Bitcoin that is very native to Bitcoin itself. So, for example, um, there are these like now you can trade satoshis, like the individual units of Bitcoin, but the
Mhm.
satoshis have history and story behind them. And I think like a lot of folks will know that story of like someone buying a pizza, right, for like 10,000 Bitcoin or some ridiculous number years and years ago. So
Mhm.
those satoshis that's involved in that transaction can also be traded, and it has this like narrative around them around rarity, and they also trade like for huge numbers. So I think like Bitcoin's thing is really around like number one, it has this long history, right, as the genesis original chain, and then there's like very individual pieces that's in Bitcoin itself that also really draw in collectors, really tugging like a collector's heartstrings because they have such unique stories
Yeah.
behind them. So yeah, all of that all makes us very excited as to make Bitcoin like more like a collectible kind of chain.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you mentioned utility because I feel like the collectibles theme has been around since we launched, and it has shifted a little bit because utility does seem to be the next big wave, or at least that's what we're trying to do with the ability to unlock dividends for our NFT holders as a legal DAO cooperative in Colorado. You're at ETH Denver. I'm going to be out at ETH Denver. It's the same structure that ETH Denver actually is with Spork DAO. But I am curious because a lot of detractors really did say NFTs are dead for forever. Because if you quote what our head writer was told once, NFTs are just shit coins with JPEGs, and some people still do believe that. I'm curious if you yourself, as the co-founder of Magic Eden, have maybe been surprised with this idea of NFTs still being seen as PFPs or collectibles versus some other use cases and projects that maybe don't get the same shine.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, we have to take a. I do think there is a lot of very new, interesting use cases that take NFTs beyond PFPs. Magic Eden, we've also always had a pretty big play in gaming. A lot of the partnership around Yuga like originated with collaborations on gaming because Yuga also wanted to do gaming, and we also have like many gaming partners, whether it's like Azrael and folks like that. And I think in the next pretty soon there's a lot of really exciting news about like launches in the gaming front, which will add a lot of utility to NFTs. I think backing up 1 second around like this, yeah, NFTs are just PFPs or NFTs are just shitcoins with pictures and stuff on them. The way I think about it is like, yeah, really, if you look at the history of crypto, a lot of these new use cases and new primitives that get unlocked, it always starts first looking at like a toy, right? But that kind of toy or like esoteric use case at the start is really just almost like a proof of concept of what this thing could really be. So like take an example of, in 2017, there was this like ICO craze, right? And in
Hmm.
2018 there was like a small DeFi phase. And at that time, people were looking at this, like the early stages of DeFi, going, "Oh, we're just farming like vegetable tokens or something. This is really, really, yeah, this thing's never gonna make it." But fast forward 5 or 6 years on, like DeFi is a massive category with real, yeah, billions of dollars like of on-chain treasuries, very, very sophisticated like mechanisms that's composing on top of each other. It really is looking like a new version of the financial system. But of course, you all had to start with these vegetable tokens, right? Like in 2018 and so on. I take that same lens to NFTs today, which is today we're like there's a bunch of activity around trading pictures, but trading pictures is a very naive and basic illustration, but it's an illustration nonetheless of wow, now you can have this form of digital ownership, and actually there is a market that really validates and values digital ownership. And of course,
Yeah.
then you take this technology and apply it to other creators like games and others, then you can really show the true like boundaries of what's
I am
possible there.
curious about that though. Is there a problem because differentiating Magic Eden from OpenSea versus basically any other NFT exchange, right? How can you do that though if you're if you're doing all of it at once? Is it the case that maybe these exchanges, and I'm curious to get your take on kind of Magic Eden's 5-year plan or what it's going to look like in 5 years. It's always difficult to project, but does it maybe require specializing in one of those things, or can you actually be a jack of all trades?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually think Magic Eden is very differentiated right now. I'm more than happy to say a bit more. Look, I think the first one is, Magic, like today the NFT market is multi-chain, and Magic Eden is the only platform that serves all of the major NFT ecosystems, whether it's ETH, Bitcoin, or Sol, right? And I think like in the future, if we imagine this future of millions, hopefully billions of people interacting with on-chain, I firmly believe that a lot of folks will really want just one platform where they can browse and see everything. And actually doing this multi-chain thing is extraordinarily hard with a lot of like, fragmented technologies that we have to piece together in the back end. The second piece there is that, fundamentally we have this binding between our Magic Eden wallet and Magic Eden Marketplace. And the reason for that is, um, so today, like without the Magic Eden wallet, you basically have to download 3 different wallets to use Magic Eden. Like people would use Phantom on Solana, they'll use MetaMask on ETH, and they'll use like some new Bitcoin plays like Xverse on our Bitcoin side. But fundamentally, over the next 5 to 10 years, that Magic Eden, we cannot force our users to download like 3 to 5 or 10 different wallets, right? As we onboard
Yeah.
different chains. So what we have is we have our own Magic Eden wallet that will onboard every new chain, and it will instantly connect to all of our chains at the same time to provide this like seamless experience. That way, then I think as newcomers and new users enter the crypto ecosystem, they have this like one place, one stop shop where they can download our wallet, and then go use Magic Eden across our full range of content.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and I
makes a lot
don't.
of sense, and it's definitely not a space for people to do that, especially new users, and obviously making that a little bit more simple is important. But let's just unpack what you said, because I do think that's a key piece of this is how easy it might be now that you guys are making this big ETH push to copy that technology over to other Ethereum, EVM compatible chains, Avalanche, a lot of the other ones that you can just basically drop in. What does that timeline look like for you at Magic Eden this year, and how quickly you can become what you just said you want to be in being the everywhere, all at once platform?
Yeah, I mean, expanding to EVM, is actually pretty straightforward, right? Like once you have the base with all of our like indexing technology and stuff. So actually, it's not. I wouldn't say it's technologically complicated. At the same time, this year we're really focused on, being a good player and being a leading player in the Ethereum ecosystem. And the reason for that is, yeah, our philosophy is like let's do less things and let's do them well. Like even if we can expand to all the chains, I
Mm-hmm.
think if we look at the market in general, Avalanche, all of the L2s, those are like all amazing ecosystems. But yeah, the heart of the activity is really on ETH, and we really want to do that really, really well first. And then, yes, we'll definitely have the technological capability to quickly expand to other ecosystems
I kind of
as
look at that the same way. Even being a project creator myself and founder of what we're building here at Coinage is, we built on ETH and we tried to launch with you guys back then because you guys were making that ETH push. And it's true. I mean, like, you want to be on a chain where everyone is. And so that makes sense. Now, as costs are getting high because of the surge in price, it does look interesting for some of the other ecosystems. So it'll be exciting to play out. But when you talk about betting on those things, I definitely would say it sounds like you're right to bet on these three to start. And do it in a way where you're partnering with Yuga. But where do you size the prize for Bitcoin NFTs this year? Because it looks like, still just today, past 24 hours, basically Ethereum sales are more than double what Bitcoin's done. Like, how do you see how quickly that flippening in Bitcoin NFTs could happen?
Yeah, that one I really don't know, right? That's like kind of like crystal ball kind of stuff. I definitely think, yeah, with really good macro like tailwinds, I think both Bitcoin and actually all of the ecosystem, I think they will see a lot more vibrancy and excitement. On Bitcoin, we have some very interesting data, which is, I mean, the ecosystem is very young.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinals have started around probably like start of Q2 last year, so it's only been around for a year, and it's already done a lot of interest. I think that one of the big barriers to ordinals is actually just onboarding into ordinals itself, like getting your first Bitcoin. They have a different address system. Magic Eden through our wallet and our marketplace, we're doing a lot of things to make it easier. So I do think like once we clear out and launch those initiatives, there'll be more inflow and more excitement. But at the same
Yeah.
time, hey, like, I think like with good tailwinds, I think all ecosystems are going to rise, and yeah, that's actually good for everybody, and also great for Magic Eden as well.
I've only got a couple more questions for you when we look at kind of, what you're most excited about and maybe contrasting that with how you might have done things differently before. We talked about the ETH push back then and versus now. I mean, it's been interesting to watch the changes at Yuga, again, as a key partnership for your ETH launch. Obviously, they had their big CEO change with Greg coming back now at Yuga. I don't know how that might impact your guys' plans or what you made of kind of that change. But what does it maybe say about the space and particularly your partnership with Yuga as you kick off? Again, congrats on bringing the enthusiasm back to ETH NFTs. But talk to me about that and how hard it is to maybe have some of these partnerships work as you try and grow things.
Yeah. No, so we have a really close relationship with Yuga and also Greg and Daniel as well. So yeah, we caught up with Greg, after some of these changes. I would just say that, hey, like, number one, huge appreciation for Daniel, like, amazing partner. We work really closely, and as we listen to, like, Greg's vision around like focusing more on like the core, focusing more on like bring more of that like crypto native aspect back into Yuga. Yeah, well, we're very supportive and we're very bullish. And I think the community reaction has also been really supportive as well. So we absolutely really echo that, and yeah, look forward to this really long-standing partnership with Yuga on that piece.
Well, I'm hopeful that we can, again, extend our partnership as well here at Coinage with Magic Eden. I'm looking at our collection on Magic Eden's platform right now. It's always exciting to kind of see, again, our project live there, other ETH projects live there, and think about where all of this goes this year. And Jack, I'm not sure if you have any bold calls to make around what this year might look like. We always wrap up our interviews with bold calls, and you being, the co-founder of one of, now I would say, the most important NFT platforms out there. What are your bold calls for 2024 as the excitement comes back?
Yeah, I think that 2024. I think it really will be like a web back kind of year. I mean, I definitely acknowledge what you were saying before. Hey, there were calls that, hey, the NFT space is pretty bearish. NFTs dead. But I think 2024 will emphatically show the world that this technology is here to stay and is back stronger than ever. And I also think that 2024 will really be the year of multi-chain, right, and the year of cross-chain, where we always had this vision that there will be apps that sit, above the chains, maybe abstract some of this like chain maximalism. But this year, I think with NFTs specifically being a market that's already multi-chain, it's kind of like the perfect setup for an app to really show a seamless experience across all the chains. So yeah, those would be my two bold calls for this year.
I'm getting shredded in our Discord right now from our community members saying, you got to tell Jack how I get the airdrop and what this looks like in terms of rewards. What's the advice for people who are trading on Magic Eden for what this will look like? What's the best takeaway for anyone looking at what you guys are planning to do this year?
Yeah, I think number one would be, listen to this interview, right? Like in terms of our philosophy. Listen to in terms of our philosophy, how we want to grow the space, and what is our strategy to bring more users into Web3 and NFTs, both involving our like cross-chain marketplace and our cross-chain wallet. And the second piece is, yeah, we have a rewards program that is going to extend to every part of our product and ecosystem across all of the chains and across both the wallet and the marketplace itself. So yeah, just be a user, like believe in that. If you believe in our vision, then we absolutely like welcome you to participate. And yeah, I think there'll be some really amazing and rewarding rewards at the end of the line.
Last question, just as again, a founder who constantly always maybe gets distracted by other projects as well and just trying to keep up with everything. It's very hard to do in crypto. I think it's fair that everyone probably compares you to OpenSea and looks at, all right, what makes Magic Eden different? How are they going to maybe avoid the huge fall off that we've seen at Magic Eden, just in terms of volumes and I guess the interest there? What would you say is the biggest differentiating factor between Magic Eden and OpenSea?
I mean, yeah, I think Magic Eden I think just on volumes, we're like maybe 2.5x volume, and active users, I think we're like now at probably like 3 to 4x what OpenSea is. I think the big differentiators would be, one, the most widest set of the widest range across all of the biggest NFT ecosystems, and the second is that a really seamless onboarding experience where, yeah, you don't have to download multiple wallets to go use Magic Eden, but you can just download our wallet. It connects to all chains, and our wallet actually helps you swap from like Solana to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to ETH. We have like a non-custodial swap inside the wallet as well. So all of that seamlessness is really going to help onboard the next big wave of newcomers into the space. So yeah, a huge respect to other players in the game, including OpenSea. But I think our range and our seamless onboarding experience is really going to be a big key piece for why new users would choose Magic Eden in the future.
Well, it's exciting to see again. What's old is new. Magic Eden's back. The excitement around ETH NFTs, Ordinals, Solana, everything you guys have been up to. And again, our community very interested in what's to come this year around all of those pieces, not just protecting royalties as a creator here, but also the upside for your users on Magic Eden as well. Jack Liu, I can't thank you enough. I'm heading out to ETH Denver. I'm sure I'll see you on the ground there. Thank you so much for coming on Coinage, man. Good luck with everything, and congrats again on the launch.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach. Yeah, it's been amazing to chat.
Awesome. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Stay tuned. And as always, you can catch up on the latest headlines in crypto and Web3 at coinage.media, and co-own us with the co-founder of Netflix and John Wu from Avalanche, as well as other Web3 founders. That's going to do it for everybody here at Coinage. I'm Zach Guzman, signing off.